Bye! My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our DUK Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Welcome back to DUK Dogs, everybody. I'm your host, Josh Miller, and let's make sure we go and thank our great partners that make this show possible. So thank you to DUK Premium Performance Sport 3020, or if you're in the off season, like we are right now, 2616 is a great blend if your dog just doesn't quite need that protein fat ratio as it did in the season. But it's a great food from coat to weight to energy level to teeth. I mean, across the board, we're just so happy with that food, and the people inside that company have just been fantastic to work with. So go check them out, www.ukanuba.com. Also, thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is your 5-star crash test rated kennel, both in the intermediate and the large size. They also have the cot. They also have the pad. They also have the kennel cover. They also have the kennel fan. Whatever you're needing for your dog to not only be safe, but be comfortable, go check out www.luckyduck.com. Also, thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs as it pertains to your four-legged companion. Now that we're going into training season, be sure to stock up early, because last year, if you recall, was very tough to get the items that you needed at times for training. So get that stuff early, be prepared for the season, and hit the ground running. www.gundogsupply.com. Great company, great people. Also, thank you to Kent Cartridge. Kent is the brand of shotgun shells that we have been shooting. We absolutely love them, but as we head into the season, make sure to check out the poppers. They are one of the few shotgun shell manufacturers that create shells for us for training. So make sure you go check out them, and especially the poppers if you're going to need that during training season. Kent Cartridge. Also, thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka Gear is your premium option for all of your outdoor clothing. We obviously probably don't need too much in-season stuff anymore, but maybe you're heading into turkey season. Maybe you just want some really nice, comfortable clothing to get you out and keep you dry in the field while you're training. www.sitkagear.com. And also thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is your premium online option for all of your training needs as you train your dog at home. www.retrieverroadmap.com. So thank you, everyone, for coming back to another episode here. This is, it's kind of funny. We feel like we turned somewhat of a page on our 100 episode, or 100th episode, and it came right during the show season. So, I went to Great American Outdoor Show this last week, and I was at Pheasant Fest, and it's just so funny to reflect back on. That's why this show even started, was because those seminars were no longer an option, and I just love speaking. I love giving those seminars. I love talking to people. And I just really genuinely liked getting out there and doing that. And so all of a sudden during COVID, I was gone. That's how this started. So it was interesting how, episode 100 came right during that season. So it kind of made me reflect on that. But I want to tell you guys something funny that happened here. I'm going to go over this a little bit. So Brett, you guys know Brett. He's been on this show a few times. Brett helps me. I'm certainly not the technology person behind getting this podcast up and posted and to all of you. So Brett handles that. And Brett also knows that there's just certain things that make this whole thing work. Like those partners and those sponsors, I'm not kidding, guys. Like, I don't make money doing this, but it still costs money to make this happen. And so we need partnership dollars to pay Brett, to pay for the equipment, to pay for the software, all these things, right? So it's really important to me to get that done. So Brett calls me the other day and he goes, dude, like, have you been on Apple iTunes recently? I'm like, I mean, yeah, but what's up? And he's like, dude, you got a 1-star review. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, like, you're not going to make everybody happy. You know, 1 star might be a little harsh, but okay. You know what's up? What did it say? And he's like, it was something like that he's had enough, and that, that it's like there's too much of this, like this, you know, self-bettering and motivational crap, and I'm not gonna listen to that. And this is supposed to be about dog training and hunting. I can't remember exactly what it said because I haven't seen it, but Brett was pretty worked up about it. I literally laughed out loud. Because for me, I'm sitting here going, okay, so first off, couple things. So first off, one, bye. Like, oh well, you know. 2 is that is the number 1 comment that we get, which is why I think it's so funny. The number 1 comment we get is how impactful that stuff has been, you know, to everybody. So gonna keep doing it, dude. My show gonna keep happening. But 3, you missed the point. You missed the point. Why are you listening to a dog or a retriever specifically? Why are you listening to a podcast about that, right? And the common, you know, answers we get when we ask that question is, I want to be able to take my dog to the next level. I want this dog to be better than my last dog was. I want to know how to get the most out of my dog. Well, guess what? That all comes down to you. You have to be better. You have to be a better you than you were the day before, the year before, the dog before, in order to keep progressing to get to where you want to go. That is intentional. It doesn't happen by accident, right? The team can only be as good as the coach. You could have great players on the team, but if the coach is a poor leader, not going to get there. You missed the point. And that's okay. Like, it's not for everybody. I get it. But it's also the number 1 positive feedback we get. So I'm not losing sleep over it. Brett, I love Brett to death. He takes some of this stuff personally, and it's okay. It's okay. But if you could help me counter that 1-star review, give me some 5-star reviews, because that is how we kind of help keep this thing going. If you could kind of bury that comment, let's get a bunch of 5-star reviews out there so that we don't have to see that one first and foremost as the most recent review. So if you could, go to Apple iTunes, give me a 5-star review, and tell me what you like about this show. So thank you for doing that. I just thought it was so funny. I literally laughed out loud. So I had to share that with you guys. So last episode, I asked for you guys to give me some ideas of topics as we're in this off season. Not only are we in the off season, but I cannot tell you the number of hours that I've been on a tractor in the last 2 days. I don't know how much snow we actually got up here in Wisconsin, but they were calling for 24 to 30 inches in a day and a half. Whatever we got was a ton, but it wasn't even that. It was the wind. I came up at 4 a.m. to snow blow our driveway, and on our farm, we have our house, we have the kennel, we have a lot of driveway and a lot of road systems on our farm, kind of leading to, you know, buildings and training sites and all that kind of stuff. Well, I got up into our field, and it looked like a complete blanket of white. Like, not even an indentation. Had no idea where the roads were, no idea where anything was. It was just a sea of white. It was unbelievable. And so I have a pretty good sized tractor. And I have a big snowblower on the back of it. The snow was over the blower. So I had to take everything piece by piece because the last thing I want to do is start shearing pins and have a complete mess on my hand as I have all this cleanup to do and fighting equipment. So it was a lot. My eyes hurt from looking at that white for so long. It was like, ugh. But you live in Wisconsin, that's what you're going to get. I have more messages in my inbox telling me how beautiful it is in other areas of the country. For whatever reason, Texas, Tennessee, and Florida were three very main states that I heard weather reports from. And it was beautiful in all of those places. So good for you guys. I'm hopefully going to get there and see green grass sometime in the next couple months. But we are in this off season. So again, I floated it to all of you guys, like shoot me some ideas. And you guys definitely delivered. Got a bunch of messages in. And so I'm just going to go and knock a couple of these out because you guys had some really interesting topics, some really neat insight. I want to dig into some of those, but there were so many that we're going to break this up into a few episodes. But I want to kind of get started here. And so the first one is from Kevin Carver. So Kevin, thank you for sending this message in. And it says, hey Josh, listen to the last Duck Dog episode and thinking it might be fun to hear you talk about pheasant hunting or grouse a little bit. Maybe touch on your opinions of game farms in the off season, and would also like to hear your thoughts on how dogs should act during a pheasant hunt. And so this is great, and I love switching it up a little bit into upland because you'd be shocked how many people ask me things like, can your dogs even upland hunt? And I'm like, come on. But it's just because I don't. Well, why don't I? Because I spend so much time waterfowling. It's just what I love to do. My wife loves to upland hunt, loves to pheasant hunt. Actually, this is how much I love her. She just currently, in the last 2 days, came to me and asked if I'd be cool with her going on. She's putting together this women's upland hunt. And she wasn't asking me if she could do it. She doesn't need my permission to do that. But what she was asking me was the dates. The dates line up right during rut for archery here in Wisconsin. I'm hoping to draw in Iowa next year, Missouri, all these states that I hunt. It's right over rut. And it was killing me. But I grit my teeth, and I was a good, supportive husband as I was like, absolutely, you do whatever dates work best for you. Inside, I'm dying. But that is true love. So over rut next year, you feel free to ping me and tease me because you know where I'm going to want to be, but I'm not going to be. But my wife does do a lot of it. And so she actually just asked me probably a couple weeks ago now if I would be willing to give her so I gave her Bracken probably 2 years ago. And it's hard on dog power. If you're an upland hunter, you know this. If you hunt hard and you hunt consecutive days in a row, sometimes dog power can be an issue. Dogs get tired, they get worn down, they get beat up, their pads get raw or sore. Sometimes having that dog power and being able to switch dogs out, it just keeps them fresh, it keeps them healthy, it keeps that energy where you want it to be. And I just don't know who I'm willing to give up and how many I'm willing to give up, but this is a give and take, so we're going to have to figure something out. But yes, our dogs do upland hunt. Whitney upland hunts with them, as much as she can. And here's my thing with upland hunting. I think that I would be more into it if I felt like more situations were under control. I'm a big control person. You hear me talk so much about control what you can control. I think we talked about that last episode. Training situations, being intentful, setting up exactly what you're trying to strive for, what you're wanting to achieve in that session, controlling as much as you can control. I just feel like most of the upland hunts I've ever been on are out of control. I feel like we're just walking a field, the dogs are all over the place. I just feel like the control is not there. And then, of course, when somebody shoots, it's like every dog is a missile to that bird. They're fighting over the bird in their mouth. It's just like it kind of eats at my my OCD as far as like I like things to be controlled and neat and look pretty, and like that's just what I like. So where I tend to really see, kind of an interesting thing. I guided upland hunts for 2 years. A lot of people don't know that. This is probably where I got a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth with the upland hunting, because the lodge that I was guiding for, who, especially one of the guys that works there, great guy, has a puppy from us. Stay in touch with him literally about every day we talk. I mean, just a great guy. But I mean, it was one of the bus deals, right? So there's a field, and half the people go around in a bus on the other on one side to post. We would be on one side with the walkers, and we would walk and flush, and they were shooting. So I got shot the last year that I was there. I got shot. No joke, got shot. Okay. And when I got shot, it was one of those things that was like, there's a lot for a guide to be watching. You're trying to control safety the best you can. You're trying to keep people in a line. You're trying to watch where dogs are. You're trying to mark birds when they're falling, because most of the time your clients are not the most seasoned, so they're not going to mark and watch where birds fall. You're trying to do all this stuff. And there was a shot, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I could hear the BBs coming. I vividly remember that. You could hear this. And I'm sorry if I just blew your ears out. I didn't even think about that. That noise. Tried to lower it that second time. And the pattern, or part, I have to imagine just part of the pattern, hit me in the thigh, straight on. And I had chaps on, thick Filson chaps, probably what saved me here in this case, because it was like whack. And I remember like right away I went down. My first thought is, how bad is it, right? Look, and I immediately start yelling, stop. The guy next to me said, you just get shot? I'm like, yep. And so everyone's screaming to stop, and I look, and I'm good, nothing broke skin, nothing, anything like that, right? And I look in my pants, and I can see red, right? But like mark, not blood, like marking on my skin. I'm like, oh, whatever, So yeah, it hurt, but it is what it is. So we finished the field, and everybody gets on the bus, and I go through what would be at this point my second safety talk, right? Like, guys, like, this is unacceptable, can't happen, right? And of course, it always happens when you have the walkers and the posters, and they're getting close to each other, and naturally those running pheasants are all in between you, and it's going to be chaos when stuff starts happening, right? So I have my second spiel. The next walk, we do the same thing. Now, on the next walk, I stopped because I can see birds running up in front of me. I stopped at about probably 80 to 100 yards away from the posters, stopped the whole line, had everyone recall their dogs, sit the dogs down. I yelled to everybody, make sure you can see daylight, make sure they're up and away, safe shots only, yell all this stuff, right? And they did. We walked, safe shots, all the stuff, all good, right? Then I'm coming out of, it was a cornfield, and I'm looking, so I'm trying to best describe this so you can picture it at home. So think of a clock. You're walking to 12 o'clock. You have a poster at 11 and a poster at 1, and I'm literally on the last row of corn stepping out. Sure enough, at my foot, and flies at noon. Okay, so I have a poster at 11, poster at noon, and I watch this bird fly straight away from me at noon, at 12, and it's low, 4 or 5 feet off the ground, and I watch these two guys swing at each other. Okay, barrels at each other, and I'm yelling, no, boom. How someone didn't die in that moment, I will never know. But there was the guy that was kind of the head of this group was off to my right. I looked at him and I said, we're done. Get at the bus. And I just walked to the bus. And that was the last day. I'm trying to think, maybe I did one more day. I think that was the last day I ever guided. for pheasants. There was a lot there. I mean, the safety thing was one. Most I can't talk about here. I'm going to just tell you generally, you're not hunting wild birds. They say that they are. You're not hunting. They're supplemented birds. They're supplemented every night. We would make jokes, actually. Me and my buddy, we'd get to the end of the field and be like, man, those northern roosters really pushed down last night. You know, it was just like, and so I couldn't. The first time someone asked me, I was like, what do you think? Right. And of course the owner didn't like, they wanted me to, but I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie about it. So it was just one of those things. It was just one for me. But here's kind of my biggest thing. Now that's a very unique situation, right? That's a guided in this, hoity-toity bigwig kind of thing, right? But that's not what a lot of you guys are doing. A lot of you guys are going out grinding it. Maybe it's public land, maybe it's private land, but you're grinding it, trying to hunt. Maybe it's just you and your dog. Here's my biggest thing with hunting a retriever in an upland situation. I think the majority of the dogs, I'm not talking about your dog, the majority of the dogs are out of control the majority of the time. I think that's one of my big factors with it. My second issue, do you agree with that? Think about that. You agree with that? Like, again, not your dog, but you think about the last person that you up and hunted with, or just as a whole, the people that you have up and hunted with. Like, how many of those dogs really are under control the entire time? Or most of the time even? Probably not many. And then I just feel like up and hunting, because I think this is what most people probably do if you're especially a weekend warrior guy, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I think this is where when we get subpar breedings, this is generally where we get them from my experience. Because somebody goes out, takes their dog pheasant hunting, and says, oh, this dog's just a great hunting dog. Okay, well, what does that mean to that individual? Does it mean the dog runs around in front of them, is, at least what they are perceiving as in control, flushes a bird, which, sometimes it's bumped into him, sometimes it's actually a track trail flush, and brings the bird halfway back and drops it and sits there and pants heavy and is like, oh my gosh. The owner walks up to it, picks the bird off the ground, is like, this is awesome. This bird, the one I think is so funny. We never lose a bird. Well, you're gonna lose a bird, just the way it is, right? But you can have dogs that are more efficient than others in that aspect for sure. And so this is where I struggle with it, because you can, and if you're a seasoned veteran at this and you've seen the poor dogs, you've seen the good dogs, and you feel like, gosh, my dog is really good at this, they probably are. And I'll tell you what, it's a fun thing to watch when you get a dog that's really good at it, especially getting on a cripple bird and they just hunt, because if you've been around pheasants, it's like if you hit a cripple and they hit the ground, they have their Nikes on and they are running really fast, right? A little different than, you knock a honker or a mallard down in a cornfield. Like, they can try to run, but they're not going to outrun that dog. Yeah, but it's just one of those things. But different, obviously, apples and oranges in a sense. But if you have a good one, it is really, really, really fun to watch them. And so that's what I struggle with. You can probably tell where, like, my little bit of sourness, getting shots kind of a big deal, right? I cannot tell you the number of times I almost watched dogs get shot. And it was like, as much as I could tell people, you do not shoot birds on the ground. How many times people would see a rooster run out again? Not wild birds, right? So these birds are like, where am I? What am I doing? They're running. They're not flying right? It's like, don't shoot that. Oh my gosh. All it takes is for a dog to come out of that, that edge, 100 miles an hour, doing what they're doing it right at the wrong time. Oh my gosh. It just makes me, ugh. That's why it's an issue for me. Right. So, now when it's me and Whitney and we have, like Bracken and Purdy out there, oh my gosh, we have fun. It is so much fun. I wish I could do that more. I really do. It's just a timing thing. Wish I could do more. Now, from a game farm standpoint, which was another piece here. Oh my gosh. Sorry about that. I just dropped my phone because I have all these notes on my phone. As I look at this, like one of Kevin's notes here is about game farms. like game farms, here's the thing about game farms is that you can put your dog on birds, which I know a lot of people struggle with. I was very fortunate this year to have the number of retrieves that I had. And if you're an upland hunter, if you got out 3-4 times, you just didn't get your dog into birds, the dog doesn't care if it's pen raised or wild. The dog cares that it's feathers. We're out here doing this together. We're having fun, right? I've got nothing against that. One of the things I really think is interesting at game farms are the tower shoots, because I think the tower shoots, if they're run right, can be a great dog working situation. And if they're run wrong, I think it can be complete chaos, and it can be one of those deals you're going to be sitting there with your dog going, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? But if run right, it can be a really cool opportunity to have a controlled environment, guns going off, birds falling, dogs working on marking, working on steadiness, working retrieve to hand, working all these things. I think it could be a really, really neat thing. So I'm all for it. I think game farms are going to get bigger and bigger all the time, because I think less and less people are going to be willing to take the time to go drive, take the trip, go out to South Dakota for 5-6 days, not find the birds they were hoping to, spend all that money, and they're going to look at it and be like, I could have a whole yearly membership for a fraction of what I spent doing that. I think they're going to get bigger. I really do. So, yeah, upland hunting, I think it's really good. Okay, so now we're going to move to another question here. Mike Swanson. Mike, thank you for this. Your 101st episode, you want listeners to send in questions. My question is, do you run marks at 300 plus yards to gain confidence for blinds? Enjoy your seminar today at Pheasant Fest. Awesome. Thank you for that. Loved Pheasant Fest. Loved that crowd. Mike, I can't remember. I'm sorry, Mike, if we got to meet. I apologize. It's like a whirlwind of names and handshakes and everything else. So I apologize, for that. I'm way better with faces than I am with names. Anyway, so let's just talk, more advanced marks in general, kind of break this down a little bit. So, do we run long marks? Absolutely. It is a great way to build a dog's confidence, stretching it out. If all you ever run are 40, 50 yard marks, and then you're like, hey, now it's time to go run a 300-yard blind, you're going to put that dog out of its element, right? Out of the comfort zone. You're going to see him want to break down. You're going to see him second guess. You're going to see him overthink things. You're going to see all these things come up. But if the dog's used to doing it, now all of a sudden there's the confidence of pushing through and pushing that far. So absolutely we do it. Here's an evolution, to that, which, I might come back to a little bit more of that because there's a lot there. But it's interesting to me how often people ask about triple marks, like running triple marks and how to set up triple marks and all, and I get it. It's like the epitome, right? Like you want to go from singles to doubles, then you want to go from doubles to triples, and that's just how the progression goes. I bet I can count on one hand the number of times that I run triple marks in a year. Just not something that we run. And that is with the dogs that I'm testing with. And I would be willing to bet if you talk to most trainers, specifically trainers that are running hunt tests, I bet you they tell you the same thing. It's just not, if you're working on memory, work on a memory with that double. Work on it being successful with that memory, right? Run singles to get those marks done, build that confidence. Run double. It's just, one, it's a time thing, but two, it's about making the dog be successful. So then all of a sudden you come to the triples. Now they got this, right? I come back with that mark. Boom. Here's number 2. Come back with there's that third one. Boom. I got this, right? You give a dog too much opportunity to fail, and then all of a sudden you're going to start to see the wheels come off a little bit. So, example, you move triples too early. You're running, grab the mark, you come back, the dog goes, okay, I remember this one. Okay, so marks run, 1 is thrown, memory, 2 is thrown, memory, 3 is thrown, mark. Boom, boom. Pick up third because it's the mark, right? Comes back 2 memories. The dog goes, okay, I think I remember 2. Okay, great. Run, miss it. The dog hunts, panics, and goes, oh, wait, there was another one over there. Poof, all of a sudden switches, goes to 1. And you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, it's just the dog being anxious, wanting to be successful. We run a lot of doubles, not many triples. That's one reason. Okay. One question, I don't know, this just popped up in my head. One question that came up from Pheasant Fest is, running doubles. Okay. So now let's take this back a whole nother layer. When we run, we talked about a mark and a memory there. So for those of you that might be new to the podcast, a mark is when a dog sees something go down, I go get it. A memory is I remember where that one was. Okay, so let's use mark 1 is thrown, boom, lands. We say heel, move them off. All right, let's just say that lands at 10 o'clock. We move them off to 2 o'clock for the second mark. Boom. Okay, we let them go. We let them pick up that last bird thrown first, then we come back to the first bird. Okay, so we have a mark and a memory. Here's why we do this again about success. We watched the first one go down. We come to the second one. That first one is now a memory because we're going to have to remember where it was. We come back to that second one that was thrown. Boom, see it hit the ground, send the dog. This should be as close to a gimme as possible because the dog doesn't have to take his eyes off of where that landed. Boom, goes and gets it, comes back. Now we can go reload and go, okay, I remember this one. If you do the wrinkle that some people will do, which is mark 1 is thrown, boom, you pull them off it, memory, okay. Mark 2, thrown, boom. Now you go, okay, now I'm going to pull you back to the first one. Now you've just created 2 memories. This has just become that much more difficult. Not saying you don't do that somewhere along the line to practice or to maybe challenge your dog if you're trying to, kind of increase the difficulty. But especially for a young dog learning this, we want success. Boom, pick that mark up. Don't pull his eyes off of it. Pick the one up. Now let's go have the challenge of the memory. So that came up. Someone was really struggling with that and was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I've been doing. And totally, and here was his thought process is first one is thrown. Then he goes to the second one's thrown. And then he wants to pull him back to the first one because then he doesn't have to remember it for as long, hoping that it's fresher in his memory. So less time to remember comes back, less time to remember on the second comes back. That was his thought process. Okay, I can get that, right? I get it. But he also understands, and actually 2 days after the show, he lives somewhere like Illinois or Missouri or something like that did not have snow, sent me a message, and all it said was night and day difference, thanks so much. So kind of neat to see that. Kind of neat to see one little thing like that can make the difference between success and failure. So all really good stuff. But hopefully that answered Mark's question. Mike Swanson. Thank you for that. So I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to have to go probably move some more snow. So this is Jake Guell. Hopefully I'm saying that right, man. Jake Guell. Listening to your most recent podcast. Topic, handling on marks. When do you do it? And when do you do it? And when do you not? Do you handle teaching to fight factors, hills, water, cover, wind, and so on? Understanding the dog has to be able to handle and advancing on marks. Okay, so Jake, this is a good one, okay? I think naturally when a dog can handle, we as handlers want to handle them as much as we can, right? And so as you're advancing on your marks, you're getting the more difficult marks as all of a sudden you're going, maybe land, water, land, or maybe you're on the point, off the point, or you're really trying to work on not bank running, not cheating, you're going to have to handle in some of that, right? Because you're trying to keep a dog, on a certain line or a certain obstacle. But I think that's probably not maybe exactly what you're asking for here. It's just simply handling on mark. Because what happens is when a dog can handle, you get excited about it. And naturally, you send them on a mark. They get to it, especially on a memory, right? Maybe not as much on a mark, but maybe a memory. They're close to the area, and they break down the right area, and they hunt. We want to stop them. We want to cast them. We want to put them on that bird right away. Here's what I like to do. If I'm working a marking drill, I want them to be marking and doing as much of it on their own as possible. Now, If they get in the right area, hunt, 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 they kind of gradually go away from it. I'm reading the dog. I'm going to let them get a little away from it because they can always correct it and come back and go make themselves successful. If I see them exit what I consider the area and now they're going to get all over the place, okay, now I'm going to stop you and bring it back. And here's why I do this. I want, on a marking drill, I want you to be doing the work. I want you to be proficient because I don't want you to start popping on me. I don't want you to get to a spot and spin around and go, okay, Dad, where? Like, this is your job in the team. You see the marks, you remember the memories, you go get on them, right? Overhandling will create popping or other things that could come up that you're going to have to work them out of. Popping, if you guys aren't familiar, would be the dog asking for a handle without being asked to stop and look for a handle. A lot of times you see this with dogs that are overhandled or maybe don't have the confidence or maybe unsure with what's going on. And I just really like to avoid that at all costs because it is something that it can be a little tricky to work out of. A lot of confidence building, a lot of, go, go, go. So that's what I like to do. Handle when I have to, but I really like the dog to be doing the work. I mean, in a marking drill, that's what we're working on, right? So I like them to do that. But of course, every situation, like hunting wise, okay? Hunting wise is the same. And here's another wrinkle to this. In a hunting situation, the reason that I like the dog doing the work as far as getting in the area, hunt, being successful, is because oftentimes they know more than I do. They get into a spot. I cannot tell you how many times. Great example of this was in Texas. I might have even talked about this on a previous episode, but Texas teal this year. Big groups comes in, boom, 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 big rain out. We pick up a bunch of birds, and the guy in the end goes, hey, there's one that I had sailed. It's right, on that, across the waterway. See that little bush? It's kind of right there, okay? So I had Brock with, was it Brock? Yeah, I had Brock with me. Send Brock. He gets over and across, okay? Was it Brock or Strike? Now I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Get him across, stop, give him what I was told was a right overcast, and he immediately, I gave that cast, and he immediately looked left and looked back at me. I gave him a right cast, and he kind of reluctantly took it, hunt, wanted, and then wanted to come back. I stopped him, put him back in the area to my right, or to, I guess, I'm just going to say right. He wanted to go left, right, want to go, and again, so he keeps coming back. I'm like, you sure it's there? Yep, sure. You sure? Yep. Finally, I just read it to where I'm like, I just gave him the hunt whistle, and he went left, boom, with the bird. Now, I'm not saying that the bird didn't land where he was saying, but I think we had to pick up 7, 8, 9 ducks before we got to that one. Well, that bird could have done a lot of things in that amount of time, right? So that was a blind, right? But the point is the same, that if they get to an area and they're hunt, unless I see the bird, I'm probably letting him roll with it because there's a reason he broke down there. There's a reason he's hunting there, right? He's a better hunter than I am, so I'm going to let him go. That's a hunt, right? I'm not going to be as willy-nilly or as free with it in a training situation because now I know where the bird is. But that's also where it's tempting, right? It's more tempting to overhandle in training because you know where everything is. If you were to hypothetically put yourself in a situation where it's like, I don't know where this bird is. I don't know where this blind exactly is. Well, now all of a sudden it's a little easier to not be as demanding and as forceful and want to overhandle because you want it to look as perfect and as clean as possible. I totally get it. I'm tempted with this every single day. So it's just one of those things. You go into it, again, you go into this knowing, okay, on my marks, I'm going to handle as minimal as possible. I really don't want to handle. That's my goal. I don't want to handle on any of my marks. And on the blinds, here's my plan, right? I want to keep them on this line. Maybe I have a hill that I know naturally is going to want to, drift down on, so I'm going to keep them on this good line. I know that there's going to be this hurdle here, so I'm going to be really ready with my whistle here, things like that, right? So being intentful, being intentional, training with a purpose, that's what all of this comes into, right? And what is neat about this is that in training, it doesn't have to look perfect. A lot of times it's not going to look perfect. It's not going to look pretty, right? One of the reasons that we stopped at the kennel, one of the reasons we stopped letting owners come just whenever they wanted to be a part of a training session is that a lot of times when you're teaching, it doesn't look pretty. There's a lot going on there, whether it's corrections that have to be made, whether it's the dog having to try to figure something out, whether it is, there's so many things, right? And so an owner would sit back and be like, what in the world is going on here, right? Well, you come back in 2 weeks, the dog is going to look like an all-star, right? We have to go through this growing phase. You guys know that. But, your average person that doesn't work with their dog on a regular basis, right? Your average person that in our case, drops a dog off, picks a dog up, and expects that there's this turnkey Corvette waiting for him at the kennel to go show off to all of his buddies. That person oftentimes doesn't think about this, and that's where we run into the issues. So, it's good stuff. But handling on marks, really try not to, in just kind of a general statement. But there's always exceptions to that rule. I have a bunch more, but I'm going to save them. I'm going to come back and do more next week. If you guys have more questions, or maybe you have one you didn't send in, shoot them over to me. Whether it's my personal Instagram is probably the best one for this to kind of keep it separate from things. Maybe if there's one on DUK Dogs, you can shoot one there. Josh_Miller_2. That's going to be my personal. But you can shoot me over any questions. You can send me an email at josh@riverstonekennels.com. Whatever works best for you, but shoot over those questions because it's going to be great to kind of fill this time with our off season. And after the 2+ feet of new snow, this is going to be one of those things that I'm going to be stuck doing more of this, which is a good thing, right? But not going to be able to get out training as much or as early as maybe I was hoping for. But shoot those messages over. We'll cover them later on. I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your week, rest of your weekend. Let's go make today great. Go be better than you were yesterday. All right, take care, you guys.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to DUK, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.